there were a whole lot of games played in the UEFA Champions League, especially on Wednesday. On Wednesday when we were reviewing the game, I said something about a particular club, Bodo Glimt, and Bodo Glimt did not disappoint. Um, you know, Newcastle, they went away to Karabakh. They defeated Karabakh 6-1. Inter Milan shockingly lost to Bodo Glimt 3-1. Club Brugge and Atletico Madrid ended up playing 3-3. Our own Ademola Lookman finding the back of the net, and Bayer Leverkusen defeating Marinakis team. I think Marinakis is having a tough time, with some of his clubs, and Olympiacos lost again. So what do you make of those particular games? Let's start with the game of Newcastle. Newcastle going away to win 6-1.
Like I said on Wednesday, Newcastle, they are a club that they know when you say they'll win, they'll win. I think I said that on Wednesday, so I wasn't really surprised that they won, but the margin was very big considering Qarabağ Stadium and the likes. But fantastic win, fantastic performance from Anthony Gordon, 4 goals. That's like a statement. I think he's on 10 Champions League goals now this season. Mbappe is on 13. Who knows? He just might race up to meet up with Mbappe, but fantastic win from them. And I wasn't really expecting Qarabağ to come back, but Newcastle ran rampage. The quality was there.
I think I agree it's a done deal for Newcastle. I mean, you are winning 6-1 and you are coming back to the tying side. Definitely, I think Newcastle is already in the second round. And Anthony Gordon, he has been in fantastic form. Yes, a lot of people might say he scored penalty and this or that, but penalty is part of football. If you don't commit the foul, you don't get penalty awarded against you. And he has also, broken some records, for Newcastle also.
Penalties, scoring of penalty is not so easy. They should ask Brahim Diaz.
I mean, he was trying to do a Panenka and Morocco lost the Nations Cup. I hope Morocco will eventually forgive him, because if I were a fan, I would definitely not forgive him. Another important game was the game between Bodo Glimt and and Inter Milan. The champions, the table toppers in SerieA, they were beaten by Bodo Glimt. And remember, this is not the first time Bodo Glimt is pulling out a win playing against a bigger opposition. What do you make of this particular game? I mean, I was surprised that Bodo Glimt could pull out the win against an Inter Milan side.
Okay, so now it is just glaring to us that Bodo Glimt beating Man City was not a glitch. It was not by mistake. It was planned. They came prepared. So for them to actually beat Inter Milan, another giant, goes to show you that we shouldn't undermine them. And for the fact that their season has ended like 2 months ago and they are still performing this well against big guys, that's to tell you that they came with pure intent. The win against Man City wasn't a mistake. It wasn't Guardiola overthinking. It was just Bodo Glimt with a resilience that they want to win. And coming to Inter Milan, who has not lost in their last 13 matches, losing to Bodo Glimt, the way they lost, that's to tell you that we just have to be very wary of Bodo Glimt and not turn them to the small boys. But then David defeated Goliath, even though David was underrated. So I guess that's the case in this Champions League. I guess they are the surprise. I can see how far they will go.
But I mean, they travel back to Italy next week. They go there with a 2-goal lead. Do you think Inter Milan will be able to turn things around? Christian Chivu has not been able to, was disappointing for him. He has played over 13 games. Rather than Inter Milan lose, they end up drawing, and they are losing to his very small club in Bodo Glimt. There's a particular guy in Bodo Glimt, Jans Peters, who was very, very fantastic in that particular game. Do you think Bodo Glimt can pull through, going into the second leg with a 2-goal lead? And they are going to the San Siro, and we know how hostile the San Siro can be, and we know how deafening the noise in the San Siro can be. Do you think Inter Milan has what it takes to be able to overturn this tide, owing to the fact that the margin is not that much?
For the fact that Bodo Glimt did it against Man City and did it against Inter Milan, well, I think it's gotten to a point where we cannot just turn a blind eye to them. Going to San Siro, yes, Inter Milan will have that home advantage, and it is just 2 goal margin. We never can say, but Inter are a big club, you understand, with big boys, and hopefully they turn up, or else all Bodo Glimt need is just a draw for them, and they've qualified. So I think the pressure is more on Inter Milan now to ensure that they turn the tides, and hopefully they can do that, because if they play the way they played on Wednesday, I don't think there's a way back on that. So I think it's back to the drawing board for Shivu, and hopefully they'll be able to do something in San Siro and not be pushed away by a club that everybody has ridiculed or thrown a blind eye on.
I mean, kudos to Bodo Glimt. Bodo Glimt. I mean, they've been very fantastic. Their season has ended, and yet they are this competitive in the Champions League. That's kudos to them. And they have a very young side. A lot of people say because of the stadium and the rest of that. However, I think it's because of the kind of heart they have brought into the game. They were able to dispatch a Man City side. Everybody thought it was a fluke. Now they are doing it against the league toppers of the Italian SerieA. Let's move to the next game. Rafael Onyedika versus Ademola Lookman against Club Brugge. Rafael Onyedika versus Ademola Lookman. I mean, Ademola Lookman got on the scoring board. Rafael Onyedika also, the coach came out to complain that Rafael Onyedika not being available in the second leg will probably affect him a bit. What do you make of that particular game? Yeah, are you there? Yeah, can you hear me? Yeah, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm there.
Yeah, it seems
Okay,
it's,
so I
yeah.
think
Go ahead.
the match against Atletico Madrid, we spoke on Wednesday, and
Yes.
I can remember telling you that. Okay, so I said on Wednesday when we spoke, I can remember saying Atletico Madrid that they can just do the impossible. So I was actually surprised that they played 3-3, a draw against Club Brugge, but fantastic performance from Ademola Lookman and Onyedika. Going to the World Cup, at least they are compensating for our absence in the World Cup at the moment. So fantastic performance from them. Yes, the club is going to miss Onyedika very well in the second leg, because he was very, very integral in the way the team plays, the way they set up. That was even capped up by the goal he scored. So they are going to miss him for the second leg, and I think Atletico Madrid are going to try as much as possible to capitalize on that and try to go through
Yeah,
from this phase.
yeah. I mean, if you look at the result, Ademola Lookman has been on fire. 5 games, 5 goal contributions, 3 goals, 2 assists. I mean, Ademola Lookman has been phenomenal. He's having a time of his life, and it shows that if you move to a place that they cherish you, you are definitely going to perform. Do you think Atletico Madrid has it in them to be able to take it in the second leg? Remember, Club Brugge will be going to the Wanda Metropolitano for the second leg next week. Do you think that's where Atletico Madrid will do it, or the inconsistency that we are seeing at the moment comes to plague them? Remember, they've not won again after the game against Barcelona. The couple of games they've played, they've not won any of those games. Now they drew again, and in this particular game they were ahead 2 goals. They were 2 goals ahead before they squandered the league. Do you think they have it in them to be able to turn the tide around at the Wanda Metropolitano and dispatch Club Brugge?
Well, I'm not surprised by Ademola Lookman's performance, because he's a quality player. Yes, I'm playing for Atalanta just didn't spring him well enough to limelight. now playing for Atletico Madrid, the whole world can see his qualities. And for the fact that he is in form, for the fact that Julian Alvarez the second leg is a whole lot to play for.
Uh,
Going difficult for Club Brugge because Club Brugge had their home advantage, reason why they had that Atletico Madrid can capitalize.
so the last game on the list, Olympiacos Olympiacos Bayer Leverkusen. Marinakis' side is losing again. Yeah, they lost again. It seems Marinakis doesn't know. It seems his luck is running out. Sort of, his team lost again. But good win for Bayer Leverkusen going away to beat Olympiacos 2-0. What do you make of that particular game?
There's no how we'll talk about today without talking about Wednesday. So that's to tell you that if you miss Wednesday show, maybe it is high time you start to follow more. So I told it on Wednesday that Bayer Leverkusen definitely were going to hammer Olympiacos. It was just inevitable. It's just like a difference within day and night. They cannot meet. But then you just tend to wonder how how the mighty has fallen in Olympiacos. They are, let's say, the heavyweight of the Greece league, and I think they should be doing better in Europe. But for the fact that they lost to, Wednesday, the difference in the gap in the league, the difference in quality and the likes, and Bayer Leverkusen winning wasn't a surprise for me, but it just means that the Greece league, Olympiacos needs to go back to the drawing board and look for how they can be better and perform better in Europe.
Just a quick one. The second leg, Newcastle goes through, right?
Yes. They've gone through. Not
Yeah.
they've gone through.
Bodo Blitz Inter Milan, who goes through? Second leg.
I will still give it to the surprise package of the Premier League, of the Champions League. So I'll say Bodo.
Bodo, okay.
Let me go with Bodo this time.
Atletico Madrid Club Brugge, who goes through?
Atletico Madrid all the way.
Atletico Madrid all the way because of Ademola Lookman. Interesting. Olympiacos, Bayer Leverkusen. Bayer Leverkusen playing at home right now. They won the way. Who goes through?
Bayer Leverkusen, obviously. Bayer Leverkusen, because they are going back to Germany and it will definitely be tougher.
Okay.
So Bayer Leverkusen.
Okay, that's fantastic then. Moving ahead, a whole lot of games were played yesterday in the Conference League and in the Europa League. A lot of team. One of Marinakis' team in Nottingham Forest, they won their game. Finally, Marinakis can smile. They were able to dispatch Galata. They were able to dispatch Fenerbahce 3-0. And we've spoken extensively about the Turkish side, especially their performance in the Champions League. What do you make of the result? Yesterday, Celta Vigo defeated PAOK. Dynamo Zagreb lost to Genk of Belgium. Celtic lost to Stuttgart. Bologna, won against Brian. Fenerbahce lost to Nottingham Forest. Lille lost to Cervena Zeda. That name's interesting. Then Panathinaikos drew against Victoria Pleasant. What do you make of that particular game? You are muted. We can't hear you.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly. Go ahead.
I said for the Nottingham Forest game, I was very surprised about the results because Nottingham Forest are currently struggling in the Premier League and Fenerbahce are second in the Turkish league. So how do I explain that as difference in quality? It is unexplainable, but that's the love of the sport. So Nottingham Forest getting the win with a clean sheet, fantastic result. For Stuttgart also beating Celtic. Celtic haven't really been the best this season. They've been up and down, getting the results. And the matches they were just. I don't think there were any shockers apart from the Bologna match. I think there weren't any shockers apart from the Bologna match. But that's the beauty of Europa League. That's the beauty of Conference League. Teams that you might not have heard of come up against your elite, and then they try to prove to them that okay, it's a game of 11-11. We also have a chance as you have. We both have legs, we both have heads, and then that's one of the reasons why we saw something like that against Bologna. But aside that, all other results were as expected, and the
Well,
return leg.
for me, I think one of the shocking results yesterday is we saw Olivier Giroud back in Europe. He featured for Lille yesterday. A 40-year-old Olivier Giroud played for Lille, and he doesn't look a day like he's 40. I mean, Olivier Giroud is 40 and he's still very active. Savannah Zeda went away to Lille in France, and they were able to get a win. It was a whole lot of emotions for them, but they ended up winning. Also, another shocking result is Ludo Goretz beating the side from Bulgaria 4-1. I mean, 2-1 rather. You will not expect a Ludo Goretz that has been struggling, that struggled in the league phase, to be able to pull that off. But the most shocking for me is Savannah Zeda going to France and getting a win.
When you look at it well, Lille are not even in the topmost of form, but that is not an excuse to lose to a low league side. Let me put it that way. That's not an excuse, but that's the beauty of the game. You just have to enjoy. You just have to enjoy the ups and the downs. It can be very heartbreaking for the Lille fans, but for football lovers all over the world, these are some of the hear about that we like to talk about. So for Olivier Giroud, we know him as a striker that doesn't run around. He's an inside the box striker. So as he's aging, he understands his positioning better, which also makes him play better, which helps his performance because he doesn't need to be running around. And seeing him in Europe with Lille, fantastic performance, but not the desired result. But I don't want to say they underrated them. I don't want to say they underrated them because it is possible, but then this is football. Anything is possible, and nobody should be underrated. Bodo Glimt are showing that in the Champions League that there are no underdogs these days. And now these ones are also proving it against Lille that there are no underdogs as well, even in the Europa League and in the Conference League. So it's just beautiful game of football. But I think the return leg will say a lot.
Okay, well, there's a whole lot to look forward to. So, moving ahead, a whole lot of games was also played in the Conference League. Different. We saw a whole lot of shocking results in the Conference League. A whole lot of people will say that's the league of the smallest boys. Crystal Palace was unable to win their game. They started so brightly, and they ended poorly. I mean, I was expecting a Crystal Palace to be able to win, but they didn't do that. Lech Poznan won 2-0 away. Signia and Lausanne drew 1-1. Crystal Palace and Zinjinki drew 1-1. Noah and AK Asba, Noah won 1-0. Florentina won. That was no surprise. Drita against Serge, they won 3-2. Serge taking that. Samsunspor of Turkey won 1-0, and Rijeka defeated Ominia 1-0 even with a record. What do you make of those games, especially the game of Crystal Palace? I mean, you would expect an Oliver Glasner side to be dispatching a Zinjiki side. That did not happen in that particular game. They started so well. I watched that particular game and I was a bit disappointed with the overall display that I saw. You would have expected more intensity from a Crystal Palace side, but the intensity was not there. What do you make of that particular game?
I think football is a psychological sport. So I don't know, probably maybe for the fact that they've been on a bad run of form, maybe that's one also played into their mind. The reason they lost focus. Let me say they lost focus, and then they eventually didn't play well. But I don't know what went wrong. I don't know what went wrong, and I think Gueye foresaw this. That was why he ran to Manchester City, and I think Mateta also saw something like this. That was why he tried to leave, but it didn't work. So I don't know what went wrong, because these are the first two games that with other players being added up. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe Gassner spoke earlier this year and said he was going to be leaving the club. So maybe I think he has already set his mind that, okay, since I'm leaving in the next few months, you understand, there's no need to put in extra effort. And I think the players also, just rubbing on the players that, okay, this manager is going, you understand, he's no longer giving us 100%, maybe something like that. And then that's why there's a inconsistency in their performance. But they should be winning a match like this. And even if you're not winning in the Premier League, at least you should be winning outside Europe. Nottingham Forest gave us a typical example of that. So I don't, for Crystal Palace, I hope they can turn the tide in the return leg. And as for Fiorentina and the others, for competitions like this that are not even Champions League, the Conference League, the second leg matters more than the first leg. Unlike the Champions League, this one's because you just don't know what to expect. Let's be honest with ourselves. Champions League, you know what to expect. Madrid versus this, you know this way. But in the Conference League, you just don't know what to expect, and that is what we've seen from Crystal Palace. That's what we've seen from Lille and the likes. So we just have to, fingers crossed, on a return leg. Hopefully, Crystal Palace can turn the tide and progress through to the next round.
One last one before we wrap the Conference League up. Yeah, I mean, Oliver Glasner said he's leaving at the end of the season. Where do you think Oliver Glasner goes after this particular game? I mean, we saw an Igor Tudor take up the role at Tottenham Hotspur. Where do you think Oliver Glasner go? Because when he leaves Crystal Palace at the end of the season.
Well, I see him going back to Germany. I see him going back to Germany, picking up a club in Germany. That's just what I just say. I don't really see any Premier League club lining up to get him, because I think his pattern, his tactics have already been explored, and clubs are starting to understand how he sets up. And he's more like Amorim. He's not going to change the way he set up. He's just going to set up that way. And then, so saying that, despite the fact that the results are not coming, he's not changing his setup, he's not switching anything, he's just changing personnel, he's not changing tactics. It will be very, very difficult for other English teams to actually adopt that. And looking at the Premier League, you hardly see any team play three at the back, and that is what has made the Gassner successful at Crystal Palace. So I guess that is going to be one of the stumbling blocks for him securing a job in Europe. That's why I said he is most likely to go back to Germany to secure a club in Germany, to manage a club